I've been asked a question, and my response is like a dissenter. I'm glad you asked that question. Why was the Internationale sung among the labor songs? Well, the Internationale is a labor song. It predates the Soviet Union. It became thank you for taking that, but don't take any more now.
No more flash.
Especially not when they're singing, not with flash.
Okay.
Okay. The Internationale was originally written in French. It was part of an international movement long before the Soviet Union was ever heard of or started. And it became the anthem of the Soviet Union, and then under pressure from the Allies during World War II, the Soviet Union got their own anthem, which they still use the music for.
The author was in the Paris Commune.
Yeah. At the time of the Paris Commune. This is our historian here. Yes. So the Internationale is a working class song long before the Soviet Union. It's not just a Soviet song. And I have to tell you a little story about that. Who can tell me the name of the composer of the Internationale?
It says
Pierre de Gaiter. Yes. In fact, Pierre de Gaiter. In fact, the Composers Collective of New York, of which Elie Siegmeister and Mark Littstein and Aaron Copland were members, was named after Pierre de Gaiter. And Pierre de Gaiter is buried in Père Lachaise Cemetery. And in 1989, this is before the fall of the Berlin Wall, Helene and I visited that grave. And there was a 90-year-old old man who was watering the grave of Pierre de Gaiter. And we were touched by this, and he said, "Look at that grave over there with all those flowers. That's Edith Piaf." but she sang only for herself. He sang for everybody. And that's why we do the Internationale.
Well, Leonard, it's also the song that the women in their marches in New York almost certainly sang.
The Internationale?
Yeah. Yes, they sung at all the big labor rallies in those years.
Yes.
And during the big strike that preceded the Triangle Fire, probably in the marches after the Triangle Fire.
So, yes.
Because
Lots
everybody sang it in their own language.
That's right. People said to me, "We know it in Hebrew, right?" Okay, so now the opera. The Triangle Fire is an opera about events that actually happened. In fact, everything in this opera, every event, every character is real, not fictitious, except one. The journalist who brings us up to date at the end, Sarah Shepard Ashton, great-granddaughter of the actual reporter and witness William Gunn Shepard, is an invention of the librettist. The sources of the libretto have been 3 books and an HBO documentary film. These include the New York City... Oops.
Could you move out of the light of the projector? I can't see you. That's better, much better.
Okay. These include the New York City Triangle Factory fire, which accompanies the film. Triangle, the Fire That Changed America, by David von Drehle. And the Centennial edition of The Triangle Fire by Leon Stein, with a foreword by Michael Hirsch. The HBO film features scholars and relatives of victims and survivors of the fire, many of whom we also interviewed, largely thanks to the help of one of the editors of the book, Lee Bennett, who is here and who is going to join us afterwards for a brief Q&A. I hope you'll stay for that. And of course, Ellen used the 2,000-page transcript of the trial of the owners who were acquitted despite the protests of hundreds of thousands. The anniversary of the fire, March 25th, didn't really receive a lot of attention until 1961, on its 50th anniversary, when Frances Perkins, who had been a witness to it, you know who Frances Perkins was? The first female cabinet member, Secretary of Labor under Roosevelt. She spoke at a rally in 1961 with Eleanor Roosevelt and talked about her reaction to the fire as having been the birth of the New Deal, something which a certain party has been trying to roll back ever since. The observance each year with the placing of roses and the reading of the names of the victims became an annual event after 9/11, which also prompted the writing and publication of von Drehle's book. For 90 years, the Triangle Fire was remembered as the worst disaster in New York's history, eclipsed only by what happened here 15 years ago today. In both cases, so many young people burned or jumped to their deaths. And in both cases, the question, who is to blame, thundered and thundered, demanding answers. In the first case, was it the owners or the system? The owners were acquitted. The system needed changing. As Lee Bennon put it so eloquently, viewing the photos of the bodies on the sidewalk, this is what deregulation looks like. In the second case, 9/11. Why have so many architects insisted that the buildings could not have fallen as they did without internal demolition? And is the proper analogy Pearl Harbor of 1941 or the Reichstag fire of 1933? History will judge.